Okay, so here we go. This is a worksheet that I gave you guys on Friday. Let's see, fifth period, it was a little bit different worksheet, but sixth period and seventh period, this was the worksheet that you guys got. For fifth period, you guys had a little bit different worksheet, which actually is a little bit more difficult than this one. But if you want to do this one, this is this one here. It has all positive numbers, which is what we're dealing with for the most part, so that's why I put it in there like this. So we're going to write our name here at the top, put the date, put the period here. So what we're doing here is the title basically of this lesson, which is 1.15, and it's converting standard form to slope-intercept form. Alright, so we have this thing called standard form, and it's ax plus by equals c. A and b in standard form are what we call coefficients. Alright, coefficient is a number that you're multiplying a variable by. Now, they're obviously variables right here, they're letters right here, but they need to be numbers if we're going to be able to work with those. So coefficients are numbers that we're multiplying a variable by. This right here is what we call a constant, and that constant is what we can't go above that in our scenarios here, right? So it's going to be a line that looks like, if we have it positive, everything's positive, positive ax, positive by, and then positive c, we're going to have a graph that looks like this. So there's going to be this line that you're not going to be, you don't want to, anything on this line is going to be a solution to it. Okay, so that's basically what it'll look like. Now, why would we want to convert it into slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b? Well, one reason is just to get you used to understanding that all of these could be that you can convert a slope-intercept form equation to standard form to slope-intercept form. We should be able to manipulate these equations to do what we want to with them. All right. Now, in this case right here, if we want to know what the slope is m. Now, these are things right here, guys, that we want to take the time this weekend here to memorize them. Memorize, or take the time this weekend and from then on to memorize this. Put this in your memory bank, right? So just like multiplying, additions and subtraction, basic stuff. We want to memorize these concepts. We want to memorize these forms. Okay, so B is your vertical intercept. That's where the graph would start. Okay, so if we're talking about this graph over here, there's your vertical intercept, and then the slope is just your rise and or fall over your run. Rise and fall over run. Okay, so we put it into slope-intercept form so we can see what the slope is, so we can see what the vertical intercept is. But there's a lot of things that we can tell about it just from the beginning. But if we just see the equation, then we should be able to deal with that equation from that point, right? So just seeing the equation, we're not going to see what the slope is going to be in standard form. So we need to put it into a slope-intercept form to figure that out, to figure out what the slope is. We could figure it out by drawing a graph, but drawing a graph is going to be a lot more time consuming. So what we're doing here is isolating. If you see this right here, y is equal to everything else is on the other side. So I'm going to write down this right here, and I'm going to say that we're going to go ahead, we're going to isolate y. Okay, so in class, if you guys were in class, I talked a little bit about this. You're in Africa, you're a lion, and you see a herd of gazelle. Well, you're not going to go after the whole herd. You're going to go after one gazelle, right? And so you got to isolate one of them. All right, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and isolate that gazelle right here. All right, and from this point right here, it's isolate y. So y is this variable right here. So I got to look at these. I have three terms. Okay, 3x is a term. Okay, 4y is a term, and 24 is a term. Okay, so I have three terms right here. My y term. Okay, my y term is I need to get that by itself, and I don't want to know what 4y is. I want to know what 1y is. So my first step here is to look for any addition that I'm adding to that y term. Am I adding or subtracting anything from that y term? Well, it turns out that I am. It's just listed, and you might not see it if you don't see the plus in front of it. But if you see a 3x right here, you can assume that that's plus 3x. Otherwise, it would have a minus in front of it. All right. So in order to get rid of, like I said, I need to get this y by itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. Okay. Now, as I do this, I want you to pay attention closely to how, and specifically how I'm doing this. All right. The minus 3x is going to cancel out this minus 3x, this 3x over here. So if I have three little x's running around, I take away three of them, then it leaves me at 0. Okay. And that's the reason why I want to do it, to get rid of that and put it on the other side. What I do to the left side, I have to do to the right side. So this gives me 0, and then if we draw a line down here that tells me that there's a right side and a left side to this equation, right? I'm going to be left with 4y on the left side and 0 plus 4y. And I don't have to have that 0 plus, and I'm going to get rid of it in a second here, but I just want to show you that it zeroes out. Right? So now on the left side, if you notice, I placed this minus 3x a little bit to the right, not right underneath the 24, because 24 and 3x are not like terms. So because they're not like terms, I can't combine them. I can't add them up. Right? So I don't want to get confused by doing this, and this is a vertical system of doing it. So I'm going to drop down this 24 straight down to here. So I'm going to get 24 minus 3x. Okay? And what I did here was subtract. So these are your steps. So we're isolating. Our main goal is to isolate y. The first step, step number 1, is to subtract the x term. Okay? All right, so if I'm left with 4y, I'm going to erase this right here. It's a little bigger. Okay. So if I'm left with 4y equals 24 minus 3x, I'm pretty close to where I need to be. I need to be at y equals mx plus b. Now, this 24 would represent this b right here. Okay, so that's a constant. B is going to be a constant. It's going to be an actual number. Okay, that has no variable attached to it. The 3x that's my x term. That's this right here. So if you notice from here down to here, they're flipped. This one up here is still in slope-intercept form. It's just the slope term is listed second, not first like it is right here. So I notice that I have 4y equals 24 minus 3x. So that means that I'm multiplying y by 4. So to get rid of multiplication, I divide. What I do to the left side, I have to do the right side, right? So I'm going to write that down. I'm going to say divide by the y coefficient. Okay? All right, so when I divide by the y coefficient, that's going to get rid of that 4 in front of the y, and that's just going to give me y. Now, once I distribute, I have to distribute the division by 4. Okay, it's got to be distributed to the 24. There's two terms right here, 24 and negative 3x. So what I have to do is I have to divide 24 by 4, and then I also have to divide the 3x by 4. Okay? So this right here would be a good answer. However, my last step here is to simplify. Okay? I know that I don't want to leave it as 24 divided by 4. If I walk up to somebody and say, hey, you owe me 24 divided by $4, that's not what I would do. I'd say, you owe me $6, right? So $6, or 6, minus 3/4 x. So now notice what I did. The x right up here, it can either go on the top, right next to the 3, which means multiply 3 times x, or it can go right out to the side, but it cannot go on the bottom. So if it's either on the top or on the side, like it is right here, then that's correct. The x on the bottom would not be correct. And there it is. That's converting 3x plus 4y equals 24 into slope-intercept form. Now, this form right here, if I wanted to switch the x term right here and put it in front and put the 6 in back, I would write it as this. Okay? Either one of those are good answers. Right now, another form of this would be y equals, now I know that 3 over 4 is just like 3/4 of a dollar, 3/4 is 75 cents, so 75 cents, 0.75. So minus 0.75 x plus 6. All right, so there's an example. I'll write these down as step number 1, step 2, step 3, and step 4. So basically 4 steps in each of these things, right? Subtract the x term, divide by the y coefficient, distribute, and then simplify it, all right? Whichever, like in any one of those, even this one right here, I would accept, but I would say, in the comments or the feedback for this, I would say simplify that. That's acceptable, that's good, that is correct, but it's not simplified, all right? So we want to simplify things as we go. All right, we're going to move down to number 3. All right, so isolate y. I'm going to write these instructions down. We're going to subtract the x term. Okay. And if it was, we're going to do the opposite. It might not be subtract. If this was a negative x, all of these are positive in this, but if this was negative x, we wouldn't subtract it, we would just do the opposite, okay, because we want to get it to the other side. Right, so we would add the x term if this was a negative. But in our case right here, we're dealing only with positive numbers. So just understand that. We just want to make sure that you understand that. Subtract the x term. We're going to divide by the y coefficient. We're going to distribute. And then we're going to simplify. Okay? All right, so here we go. So there's the x term is this one right here. Here's our y term. We want to isolate that y. Okay? So I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. Now, really understand, I don't want to place that 2x right underneath the 15. Okay? Because I'm going I'm going vertical on this, right? This is a vertical way of doing this. So 2x minus 2x cancels out, so that gives me 0 plus 1/3 y. Put my equal sign, draw my line down there so that I can tell what side is what, the left side and right side. It can distinguish between the left and the right side. So then I'm going to go ahead and say 15, drop the 15 straight down, and drop the 2x straight down as well. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and, once again, I'm going to erase that. I just wanted to show that that zeroes out. So what this is, I'm multiplying, this is a fraction, but I'm multiplying y by 1/3. Another way of saying multiply y by 1/3 is to say divide by 3, right? Divide by 3 is the same thing as multiplying by 1/3, but we're going to say that we're multiplying by 1/3 right now. And to get rid of, we're going to divide by the y coefficient. The y coefficient is 1/3. So dividing by a fraction, if you remember back to copy dot flip, so copy dot flip means that I'm going to copy the fraction down, I'm going to put a dot, which means multiply, and I'm going to flip it. Okay, so dividing by a fraction is multiplying by its reciprocal. So the reciprocal is just flipping these numbers upside down, right? So instead of 1/3, it's going to be 3/1. Okay? So then right here, what I'm doing is multiplying by 3. All right? So if I have a fraction 1/3 right here, it's basically just multiplying by 3. That cancels out, that cancels out, this cancels out, that cancels out. So we know that I'm going to be left with just 1y. So now what I have to do is this step here is to distribute. Now when I distribute, my distribute is, because I'm multiplying by 3, I have to distribute that multiplication to both the terms, the negative 2x term and the 15. So 15 times 3 is 45. 2 times 3 times x is negative 6x. And it doesn't need to be simplified, so I don't need to do that. Now, if I want another way of writing it, remember, is to say y equals, and I could put the negative 6x first. Now that is the technical, the proper way of writing slope-intercept form, y equals negative 6x plus 45. mx, m is negative 6, slope is negative 6, the y-intercept is 45. Okay? So let me look at some of these others. All right. I think, all right, there we are. So 1 and 3, it's done for you. The rest of those are yours to tackle. So you have 2. These are all worth 1 point. You have 4 to do. This right here. You have 5 to do, 6, 7, and 8. All right. So you have 6 problems to find the answers to. So just remember those simple steps. This is step 1. I'll put it over here. This is step 1, step 2, step 3, and then if you need to, step 4. Okay, so subtract the x term, subtract or add the x term, depending on if it's negative. These are all going to be subtract because they're all positive. Divide by the y coefficient. Okay, distribute, and simplify if necessary.